Good morning, everybody. John Spielka here from GAI Insights, giving you the Gen AI news briefing. We have a guest rater today, Liz Van Zura. Lovely to have you, Liz.
Thank you.
Luda and Adam and Ankash. Got some interesting stuff here. Everything from Hubble IQ, which is a new way to provide IQ down to needy populations, through OmniHuman One, rethinking what the entire scale up of one, human conditioning could be on our models and everything in between. All right. So, Ankash, will you start us off with the first one, please?
Sure, John. Yeah, so the first one that we have for today comes from AWS and it talks about Hubble IQ, which is bridging the digital divide with Gen AI powered IT support.
Yeah, well, here we got public sector and other folks. What do you think of this thing, Liz?
Yeah, so I thought this was an interesting article because there's not that many that we've seen on public sector. So love that it's involved with hospitals, government systems, and digital classrooms. And really what it is Hubble IQ, it's a California-based startup. And what they did is they built built a product with Amazon Web Services, AWS. And what it does is one of my favorite things. It helps diagnose and resolve IT issues in real time. So I don't know about you, but I constantly have IT issues with companies and with myself, my own computer. And I think anything that allows you to help diagnose using AI in real time to get human, so you can reduce the reliance on human IT support is a great idea. So they have applied this, and what I love about it is I think for AI enthusiasts, etc. This article is important because it shows a tangible real world application. It's a great idea where they solved it with Gen AI, and they're continuing to get good results from it. It empowers users to, it reduces costs, so you don't have to have real time people all the time, and they can focus on other bigger IT issues. It does address sort of, digital equity challenges, bringing down the cost, et cetera. So I like it for those reasons. I would rate it as, I was kind of, I'd call it important, not essential, but important. But I think it's very important for those in the public sector. And also I think it spurs on some great ideas of where Gen AI can really be applied to improve.
All right. Bridging the digital divide, solving a real problem here. We're going to vote for important. What do you folks think?
I agree with Liz that this is a very interesting article tackling a great issue, right? The problem with the article itself was that it was light on the impact. It really didn't address it pretty much at all. It just said it was an improvement, and that's pretty much it. So I was more on the optional side for this particular article, but highlighting that both the public sector and the IT streamlining is great areas.
All right. Adam, Paul, where are you guys?
I was optional before listening to Liz, honestly, and then I was leaning more towards important. But particularly because we've seen so many use cases out of Amazon, this is less of a use case and more of a product announcement. And it's not even their product. They're really just promoting how someone has built something with Amazon. And at that, then you have to go pay them to use it, right? So I was leaning more towards optional, but you make some really good points, Liz, and I think I could be swayed or bought, as Paul says, into important.
All right, Paul, where are we?
Yeah, I'll support important. I mean, I do think internal use cases that don't have customer risk is really important, and service desk is just huge. And there's a whole bunch of companies going after service now, and lots of change. So important for now.
All right, I was going to go optional, but I'm getting outvoted here. We're going important. Ankash, next.
The next one comes from the Brookings and talks about how artificial intelligence is transforming middle class jobs and can it also help the poor?
Yeah, very interesting article here. You've got this whole notion of changing the liquidity of knowledge, right? Can you get it to people who really need it, whether it's in agriculture or medicine in particular, which they highlight, which I think are very important. What did you think on this, Paul?
I think this is an important topic. I think for AI leader, this is optional. I think there's so many important topics on income disparity and poor, on education. I think those are outside the scope of what we want to focus on for AI leader, who's really got to make sure his or her job gets enhanced and they have reduced their career risk and project risk. So optional.
Yeah, I was coming down more on important. It's a short article. It's got some interesting stuff about how the adoption in other countries is really desired and happening pretty quickly. The part that they don't talk about, they talk about the digital divide and so forth. I think they're missing the fact that all this knowledge is not all of it, but much of it is going to go on the phone, and phones are available worldwide. It'll be interesting to see what the pricing models are, but there's so much open source. I don't know. I hear you. I just think this issue, it's framed in international setting. I think it's also true domestically. As one wealthy benefactor here in Chicago once said, it's much easier to raise $1 million for people in Africa than it is for people in Chicago. I think these issues we're talking about here are going to be relevant in every country, including ours. All right. So we got one important, one optional. What do you think here, Liz?
I came down I was sort of in the important area for the same reason, only because I think the rate of change and what can be done in this particular area to affect, the divide, which is happening on phones, like you mentioned, I think it's just important to keep top of mind. And I hope that I hope that we start to see more solutions that do not make this the have and have nots with Gen AI. So I think it's an important topic.
All right, Luda, Adam, help us out the fence here.
Yeah, it's a very important topic, critically important. However, I think for our audience, this is super triple optional. This doesn't focus them on the right stuff. It is, and they are aware of this thing, but they are not going to be able to do much about it. That's my problem. So I would love to mark it as important, but I think it's optional. And we need to watch out, right? It's everything is important and nothing is. So I just think it's optional.
All right, we got another one for optional. Adam, where are you?
100% agree. Extremely, extremely important topic and an optional piece of news for our readers. If I were skimming this as an executive because the GAI Insights team told me that this was worth a read on the weekend, I'd get to the end where it says the path forward is clear, and I'd say, well, I have no idea what I can do. So without it giving some call to action, it's not written for our audience, right? It's a tremendously important topic, but not that I feel we need to bring to the AI leaders' attention.
All right, we're going to go optional here, presuming our heartless AI leader. All righty.
They don't care about this stuff. No.
Yeah. So the next one is a research article which talks about S1 simple test time scaling.
All right, AR, what are we doing here?
I'm going optional. It's super deep onto the research side of things. Very, very interesting research. What we're talking about here is the promise that these new reasoning models do, right? That's what they're referring to here as the test time scaling as opposed to the train time. And they're doing some research into why that works and how it works and how we can do that more efficiently and effectively. And it's important research, but optional news. Yeah.
All right, important research, optional news. What do you think, Luda?
I was going important, Adam. I think it's very important with the DeepSeek and other very strong innovations coming from China to keep abreast of what's happening under the cover. And this is under the cover, but it is very important innovation, allowing quite a leap in the model's performance. So you don't, as a leader, you don't need to go formulas. But if you read the abstract and knows around a little bit of what has happened and how they're using ablation and what they're actually doing to the model to make it perform better, I think you would be way better leader, technical, to lead your teams. So I was going important.
All right. Here we are on the fence again. Liz.
I am persuaded by Luda to say important.
But everything can't be important. What are we doing here?
Paul.
Yeah, I'm on the optional side. This is a promising new technique. It's still early. It's in the research thing. It's an improve the carburetor. Use my car
Well,
now.
Paul, I was going to expand off your analogy from yesterday and say this is saying, do we get more horsepower with 10W30 or 10W40, right?
Correct.
And
Correct.
they can't even keep up with how much horsepower we're getting out of the
Correct.
engine. Nonetheless,
Well
this kind of subtlety in the details.
Yeah, I hear you guys, but they took the Quen model, did this type stuff to it, and made it perform way better at less resources. So I feel that this is our edge to stay competitive. And this is coming from Allen Institute, right? It's coming from a lot of our research institutions. So I just think the leaders need to push it. But anyway, okay, I will go with the crowd here.
Yeah, I think I am going to come down to important. It's a critical performance variable, and we have algorithmic innovation. I think is not paid attention to enough, personally. So I'm going to come down on the heartless, efficient AI leader persona.
And John, I think part of what we've done the last few meetings have starting to debate a little bit on what exactly is a profile of this mythical AI leader we keep talking about. Is she 100% business? Is she 100% technical? Is she the CIO? Is this a AI news for technical leaders who have coders directly reporting to them? Is this an AI leader who's presenting at the board once a quarter?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you the profile in my mind, and we should talk more about it, maybe articulate it even more. Is first of all, they have business responsibilities. So they have to get business results. So it's not just technical delivery. Second thing is that they need to understand the critical input and output variables of their job. So, Luda's making the case that this can really change the economics and the flexibility and capability of a core component of the AI activity. So that's why I think it's relevant. And then they have to also understand the context. And I think the argument we made in the last case was that the context of public good outside the country and government and so forth is not the center of the plate for us. That the context is commercial reality and regulation and so forth, and understanding who the big vendors and suppliers are. So I think for me that's kind of the persona, and we should probably talk more about it. But those are, I think, the big. It's about context, about business value, and it's about really understanding the dynamics of the major cost, value, and quality attributes of the factor inputs of inference and so forth.
Yeah, but we also have functional leaders that are very interested in this, right? Like Liz is a marketing leader, right? We have Ashish who comes in. He's in the middle of a huge organization, pushing Microsoft, pushing the envelope, right? We have Ram, who is the CEO of his own company in AI training, right? And so it's different. So we certainly need to talk about it, and kind of get those personas defined somewhat.
Yeah, for me, all three of those people would fit under the description I just gave.
Yeah, no, I agree, but I'm not disagreeing with you, John. I'm just saying maybe detail it a little bit.
Gotcha. All right. Good question. She's saying CAIO or CIO. I think both. CIO, but CIO is the center of the bullseye, and then the bullseye sits underneath the CIO usually. All right. Next, Ankash. Report on this guy.
Okay. Yes. The next one talks about revenge of GPT rappers, defensibility in a world of commoditized AI agents.
Yeah, there we go. And we have inflection on this graph, not one you see very often up there. All right. What we've got a interesting retort that a lot of people said that the folks who are wrapped around models would not be strong here. He's talking about some interesting things around the importance of controlling your audience. What do you think of this, Luda?
Yeah, it's a speculative case again, projecting into the future. So it can be either optional or essential for our audience. So I ended up on optional because in a sense it is sort of, I don't want to say trivial, but it's sort of where it would go probably. But okay, I have to give him kudos to writing a very good title. So it's about imagining the world where AI models are completely commoditized. And so you can go to any chat, any bot and say, here's a very good product. Could you please replicate it and put it into this website and put it to sell for e-commerce model, and it can do it for you. So it's completely the world of what he calls GPT wrappers. So its underlying model doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the wrapper around it. And so the next point he makes is, in that environment, what will be the defensibility? How would you sustain these wrappers? And he's arguing that looking in the past, it's two real options, and this is distribution and network effect of how do you create an audience to scale those wrappers. So, and as I said, I think it is the right way from my perspective where it would go. And so it can be essential, but I thought it's speculative, so I put it as an optional.
All right. I don't know how we deal with the future except by speculation, but okay. Adam, Liz, Paul, what do you guys think?
I'm with the sheesh, optional.
I thought optional because I didn't see a lot of depth to it, other than the notion of copying somebody else's work and then putting your own wrapper around it type thing, which I think is happening more and more. But I think I felt it was more of an optional article.
Adam, where are you on this one?
Same, unfortunately, John. I know you were feeling it was a little more important. I'm interested to hear your case.
Yeah, I mean, I think that I think this notion of as you think about the portfolio, so AI leader, CIO, CAIO or CIO, sitting there looking at the portfolio stuff. What are the companies that are going to survive in your portfolio or grow? And you look at folks like we're just having a conversation with a writer the other day, for example, and I think they're really trying to be the platform for certain organizations in the portfolio, and they will have some network effects, I think, maybe, and also knowing that end customer need. That sticky part, as opposed to some other ones that remain unnamed, that are just providing a component input and can be switched out. So I think I thought it was an important distinction for the AI leader to be able to think through who's going to stick around and who's not.
But John, your point there is that if it's cheaper for someone to build a carburetor, they might be around longer, because this is talking about amortized cost to build and run a frontier model.
Yeah, well, I thought of it as two things. It's mainly the case that the network effects and the understanding of the end user are going to be sticky, and performance itself won't be. Speeds and feeds aren't by themselves are not as important as interrelationships in the network and understanding the customer and distribution, like how you get there. So anyway, just I'm okay with optional.
So John, yeah, I agree with you, but he doesn't provide and he doesn't know, and neither do we, right? What are the parameters or major critical assumptions to get to the right distribution and the right network effect, right? So we don't know, because there's no hardware modality like in mobile phones. There's no, it's a very different wave versus our waves before, right? So it has components of all, but it's not yet clear how it will be. So it's a great topic, but no guidance yet.
Well, I hear you. Every wave has got some differences, and whatever rhymes and doesn't do that. I agree it should be optional, but the way you argue it, I disagree with, which is it's
Ah.
always going to be speculative about the future. I mean,
No, that's true.
You can't.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, funny thing about the future is in the future.
Right. Oh, you have to speculate.
Okay. All right. Next.
Okay, so we rated this optional, right, John?
Right.
Yes, optional it is.
Yeah.
Okay. The next one comes from Bain and Company, and it talks about Gen AI in mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah. Let's see here. Liz, what did you think of our friends at Bain who have a great merger and acquisition practice that they started on the back of their own?
Yeah, you're yeah. So I think you kind of hit it. So this is kind of a light article written by Bain, and it's sort of talks about the M&A business and highlights actually it's kind of a light article. All it really suggests is that not that many people in the M&A business are using Gen AI, so they might benefit greatly from hiring a Bain or someone to help them out, because it's really, and it's stunning. It's saying it's only 21% or a fifth are using Gen AI in this process. And if you think about it from the WINS model perspective of the words, images, numbers, and sounds, a lot of numbers going into M&A. So it's prime for using Gen AI. So it was a little shocking that only 21% are using it. This is really an article suggesting that it could be beneficial to help find the right deal, validate the deal, deliver value, so and also it points out that even once an M&A or happens, incorporating it into integrating work plans and transitioning talent, et cetera. There's so many great ways that Gen AI could be used to help this area, but it's, in my opinion, an optional article. It's just pointing out where it could be beneficial. I agree with that, and I think that's important in the M&A category. I'm surprised the numbers aren't higher, that folks aren't using it because it's such a great research tool. But in terms of an article, I would suggest that it's optional.
Johnny, you mute.
Yes, you and Lucinda both agree that you're surprised that folks in the M&A business aren't utilizing this more. Having dealt with a bunch of them, I'm not surprised they're not using it, because they're a supremely confident group. Let's put it that way. Excess humility aren't the first two words that come to mind, when I'm thinking about my M&A friends.
Well, John, it's interesting you say that, because it's also the same thing we see in so many other functions, that junior coders will pick up the coding tools faster than more confident, super experienced coders here. It also, to me, reads as it's a marketing piece for the sales services here. So,
Yes.
So I was leaning towards optional, and I will make a case for important, even though I probably wouldn't support it myself. And that's that in the broader context, anyone who's in business should be thinking about, there's the concept of arbitrage, right? And where one side, where there's this significant imbalance, and wherever there's negotiations going on, if one side is using generative AI and one isn't, there's going to be this force over time that can't be beat, right? And if you aren't using generative AI already for whatever it is you have to do in terms of negotiations, or mergers and acquisitions, or any of this sort of bipartisan interaction, even in legal cases, right? There's so many places where we could think beyond this as an example, where it's surprising that even in the most obvious ones, it's not being done yet. And whoever starts doing it is going to have such a competitive advantage in all of those scenarios.
And Adam, on the competitive advantage, I can't use the name, but Mike Davis on our team and I had a call 2 weeks ago with a massive PE firm, and they have one of the most aggressive deployments of OpenAI Enterprise. Every employee has it. They have 40% of employees using it on a weekly basis, and they have 5,000 employees. Or 1,000 employees. They have 50 employees who are using it on a daily basis and have created 150 GPTs, but they don't want to tell anyone. And they pleaded with us not to write a Forbes article or anything on it, because they don't want to. And
well, they're trying to hold it.
Yeah,
as their advantage. I mean, I think that's the thing. What's so surprising about this is it is a great tool. And of course, you have to check everything. It does hallucinate, and you do have to check it. But it gives you such a good start on this stuff. And it is surprising for deal making. It seems primed. So I agree. They probably are just saying, and I'm finding the same thing in the marketing world. If companies are using it well in retail, they don't want to share it. They don't want their competitors to know that that's how they're getting their advantages and they're bringing down their CACs.
I wonder if that's influencing this number.
I wonder. I was listening and wondering about this. Yes.
Gen AI? No, we're not using it yet.
We're not using it. Exactly. So yeah, it was surprising. And that's why in terms of an article, there's not really a lot there other than it does put it in your mind that why wouldn't you use it for this?
All right, we're going for optional. Sounds good to me. Ankash, last article, please.
Okay, the last one, again, a research paper with...
Sorry, Ankash, before I go there, John and Luda, we've done a particularly good job in the last week or so beating the living heck out of the optional articles. We have put a section in optional articles.
There you go.
No, out of the ones that could go optional or essential. So that's a big difference.
Yeah, no, it's interesting. Yes, it's a flip or flop, as Mel Bernstein used to say. All right, Omni-Human 1, rethinking the scale up of one-stage conditioning human animation models. What do you think here, Adam? Oh, sorry, Ankash, go ahead with the intro.
Yes, so the last one that we have is a research paper, and it talks about Omni-Human 1, which is rethinking the scaling of one-stage conditional human animation models.
All right, Adam.
Yeah, Ankash, go back to the article, please, and scroll down just a little bit more, and you'll see there's a GitHub there, the Omni-Human Lab, github.io, the URL. Go ahead, yeah, click on that and just scroll down and start playing some of the videos while I'm talking about it. Would be great. A little further, yeah. There's tons of stuff here to go check out, and probably better without sound. But these are pretty extraordinary. These are full body, half body portrait, combining the animation, the sound, the lip sync, the vocals. It's a pretty extraordinary model. It's probably optional news for our leader, possibly important, but I don't know if they're already not blown away by how quickly this space is changing. This would probably just fall into the category of another everyday miracle, right? It supports talking and singing. It handles human object interactions, challenging body poses, and accommodates different image styles. So we're getting closer to that holy grail of an all-in-one sort of tool, and this is another great step in that direction.
Yes, and you've left out Talking Kale. I mean, when was the last time you saw Talking Kale?
Albert Einstein, man, look at that. And you have to hear it as well. Yeah, it's pretty extraordinary stuff.
Yeah, it really is. All right, Ludo, Paul, Liz, what do you think? Actually, let's start with Liz. Liz, you're in the marketing domain. This obviously is relevant.
So that's why I would, again, for a marketing person or anybody looking at what this technology can do, I view this as an important article. I think it's super important to keep up on, what tools are available to use, and they're getting better and better. I'm with you, Adam. I'm blown away by them constantly, and I'm using them, and I'm seeing companies use them. So if you're in this space, I would vote it as important.
Luda?
Yeah, it's everyday miracle category, but optional in my mind for the general leader.
All right, we're in between the Scylla of important and the Charybdis of optional. What do you think here, Paul?
Yeah, and I think, Luda, you've talked about it. I think the key thing for the AI leader is to understand that every vector is having everyday miracles now. So they should expect everyday miracles, and only when it's a double miracle or something is when it's notable here. So I think this is, Liz, continue on the unbelievable vector expansion of videos that every AI leader should continue to know that's happening.
All righty. Optional it is. Ankash, give us the tote. We're coming near the red zone here. All right.
Sure, John.
While we get that up for the last thing here. I just want to thank Liz. Thanks for joining us. Great
Thank you.
to see you. And Luda, Adam, Ankash, thank you. And Ankash, do we have the tote board, or should I just read them off?
Yes, John. Just
Here we
a
are.
minute.
Oh, sorry, at the stage. All right, here we go. Important on Hubble. Important on scale, simple test time scaling, and optional for the rest, late reading day. And see you all tomorrow. Thanks, everybody. Don't forget to subscribe, and the articles are available as well.